What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Work the Crowd podcast, where we talk everything sports and a little bit about lemon pepper chicken wings. As always, I'm joined with Jacob Lucas here. What's up,
guys? So, got a lot to talk about today. A lot to unfold. Starting off, we start off every show with a little college football. So let's start with a little college football. Last night, first of all, last night was a lot closer of a game for Louisville than probably what they would have liked, at least until the end, against Boston College. But a lot of good games yesterday. A lot of pretty much blowouts. Really, the only good game, top 25 wise, you had Ole Miss and Oklahoma was a pretty good game. Vanderbilt, Missouri was a good game. Outside of that, Texas won in overtime against Mississippi State with their backup quarterback. Arch Manning went down. Possible concussion, hit his head on the turf. But really the big one that I want to start off talking about, since we've been on a theme of talking about coaching firing here recently, how much longer does Brian Kelly have at LSU?
Oof. Maybe I could be. As soon as the end of this season, to be honest.
So, not taking anything away from Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly is a great coach. Don't get me wrong. But we talked about this with Kalen DeBoer when we were talking about when the early season, when they lost to Florida State and everybody was talking about, is he the right coach for Alabama and everything. Right. We talked about this where good coach, it's just a wrong fit. Brian Kelly at LSU was never a good fit.
You thought so, even before they hired him?
Yeah, it's a good coach. Just off name, it's a good hire. But if you look at what Brian Kelly does and how he coaches and everything, it doesn't fit LSU. And the crazier part is that he jumped ship from Notre Dame to LSU, and his reasoning behind it was he said he had better opportunities to win national championships with more resources and stuff at LSU, which is theoretically.
Yeah.
The problem is the team you left has played for a national title since you've left, and you have not.
This is true.
Brian Kelly, he went down there and started doing the fake accent immediately. And then, he's doing all that, the recruiting weird stuff with it, photo shoots with players and stuff. It was just never the right fit. And we talked about this as well, where I said I thought Kalen DeBoer better fit northern type football than southern football. Brian Kelly's a northern football guy.
So
now DeBoer's kind of picked
Penn
up.
State?
Yes, but I don't think he'd be a good fit at Penn. He might be a good fit at Penn State, but I don't think after this Penn State would even want him.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah, I think LSU's not a good fit for Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly's I think both parties would drastically get better moving on from each other. Now, where Brian Kelly goes after this, if he were to get fired, not really sure. But again, I just think it was a weird fit from the get-go.
Yeah. So for some context, in 2022, Brian Kelly signed a 10-year, $100 million contract with LSU. So that puts him through the 2031 season. If they were to fire him, his buyout would be around $53 to $54 million after the 2025 season. So, that seems kind of normal. Not normal for a 10-year contract, but buyout-wise, that seems normal if they were to try and move on. And I think there's a lot of LSU donors out there that would pay money to do that if they really think they need a coaching change. But yeah, I don't know. There was videos. I don't know if you saw. There was videos out from last night, him arguing with his OC.
Yeah,
up in the booth.
Well,
about a play call.
I saw a thing as well. I don't remember the guy's exact name, but LSU had a strength and conditioning coach that they had for ever. And they said one of Brian Kelly's first moves when he got to LSU was he fired him. And now he's at Texas A&M. And now it's Texas A&M bullying everybody, up front. So, yeah. That's a red flag right there as well. But here would be my question. So I know we've talked about it before, but if the LSU job came open, I feel like for this guy being a former SEC guy, that I think regardless of where he's at right now, that everybody that has been in the SEC or started in the SEC has an itch to get back to the SEC at some point. So here would be my question. Is the LSU job big enough for somebody like Dan Lanning to leave Oregon?
I think so.
I get it. He's got the whole contract with Phil Knight and a separate contract with Phil Knight and Nike. and all that. You know, I get it. Oregon's one of the premier programs right now currently in the country. You can argue it's as good, if not a better football program than LSU, even though LSU's, you know, won more recently and everything. But in terms of just like winning and everything, I got a feeling at some point Dan Lanning's going to have an itch to want to get back to the SEC. That LSU job, it just becomes very intriguing because LSU is one of those jobs where it's like Florida, it's like Miami, you know, Texas to a degree. If you can just recruit around your area, you have a great football team.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, I don't think Lanning would take a pay cut, and he makes about $11 million. So you'd have to get rid of Brian Kelly and still have enough money to pay him $11 million a year. So I don't know. I don't know if that's even plausible, honestly, for LSU. I'm sure there's ways to work anything out, but that seems like a lot of money to be spent in LSU's realm because Lanning's buyout's only $20 million from Oregon.
Yeah. No, I know. I just don't. And every coach always has that itch to get back to the SEC once they've been in it.
Yeah. I think timing, though, is huge, too, though.
And I think we talked about before, I think truly Dan Lanning just didn't take the Alabama job because he didn't want to be, there are certain coaches that just did not want to be the right after Saban.
Yeah.
So I just don't know if a job like this opens up, like theoretically, your top tier jobs in the SEC are Bama, Georgia, Texas, and then LSU. So LSU, if that job opens, that's one of the premier jobs in the SEC you could possibly get. I just don't know if that's enticing enough. But speaking of jobs enticing, Florida obviously fired Billy Napier last week after they beat Mississippi State. Which what was that? What was that quote? That stat of the day I gave you last week, Doug? It was sorry, I'm trying to
like 3 head coaches were fired the day after beating Mississippi State.
Yeah. 3 coaches in the last 5 years have been fired after beating Mississippi State.
Yeah, that's a crazy stat.
Yeah. So, and then, well, I mean, you know, Sark and them barely beat Mississippi State last night, so could Sark be next? But no. But yeah, it was, if I remember correctly, it was Dan Mullen at Florida was one of them. Obviously, Billy Napier. And I forget who. I think the last one was Gus Malzahn at Auburn. I think it's the last one. So now the question is, you know, who takes the Florida job? Obviously, the whole speculation all week has been Lane Kiffin. And so here's my thing, and I know LSU's a different degree of job, I think, than Florida. I think Florida's just a slight tier below an LSU, like when you're talking about top tier job. But with NIL and transfer portal and all this, is Florida really that much more enticing of a job than Ole Miss right now?
Are you saying in this? You saying for like
in today's age of football? I mean, is Ole Miss really that much worse than Florida to say, yeah, Florida's worse and Florida's a better job to take right now?
Right now, maybe not.
And also, like for Lane Kiffin, Lane Kiffin's got it made at Ole Miss. I mean, if Lane Kiffin wants something at Ole Miss, they're going to hand it to him. Are they going to do the same thing for him at Florida? I mean, obviously he's the guy you go for. It's 100% the top guy, because more than likely you're not going to get any of the other top guys to want to come to Florida. So he's the first guy you call. But I just don't know if Florida is that much more enticing of a job than Ole Miss right now, especially when you've got everything you could ask for. His current salary, he makes $9 million a year. His buyout's only $3 million. So it's not like it would cost that much, but I just don't know. But I think an interesting one for Florida, if they can't get Lane Kiffin, because this one is truly a step above where you're at, is I think you have to call Eli Drinkwitz afterwards at Missouri. You look at what he's done through the portal and NIL and everything else, and even recruiting at Missouri with limited resources that Missouri is willing to give to football. He's done an outstanding job. And I think if you're Florida, if you can't get Lane Kiffin, you got to try to get Lane Kiffin. I understand that. If you can't get Lane Kiffin, I think you go after Eli and you make him say no, essentially.
Yeah. But someone like a John Gruden still is, I feel like, on the table.
Yeah, as a reset culture setter. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't know in what order that goes, but Yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason for college football head coaching jobs because there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and then a lot of like premier, like top level
Yeah.
jobs open. And then not to mention the fact when if these guys leave, like Lane Kiffin or Eli Drinkwitz,
Yeah,
what
who
leaves open?
replaces
Ole
them?
Miss leaves open now.
Yeah,
Missouri's open now. Like
a lot of jobs coming up in the offseason.
so, and I also kept seeing a thing about Florida trying to go after Marcus Freeman. I don't think Marcus Freeman is leaving Notre Dame.
Not anytime soon. You can't just go to a national title
Well,
and
yeah, and
leave.
to be honest, I think realistically, like just seeing how Marcus Freeman operates, I think there would only be one job in America he'd leave Notre Dame for. And I think Marcus Freeman will be a Notre Dame lifer unless something, drastically goes downhill somehow, which it can. We've seen that happen with coaches. Unless it drastically goes downhill, I think he's a Notre Dame lifer. Unless if Ryan Day decided to leave, I think he would take the job. If he's offered, would take the job at Ohio State, being a Ohio State graduate. I think that would probably be about the only job he'd probably leave Notre Dame for.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So like we said, a lot of head coaching vacancies coming up. So yeah. All right. Moving on from the college football world to the college basketball world. There was an interesting story that popped out this week, Doug. We talked a little bit about it yesterday at our tailgate and everything. We have a G League player coming back to college. So, Doug, since he is coming to Louisville, I'll let you kind of dive into your thoughts and everything a little bit about that first.
Well, I think Louisville is playing a good hand. I mean, you're going to get an experienced player who has played at a high level and still has eligibility and can come back and make an impact on your team next year. I know a lot of people are saying this is ridiculous. All these head coaches are coming out saying how ridiculous they think it is. Look, don't hate the player, hate the game. Okay, this is where we're at. Pat Kelsey and team made use of what they had and that they could do that. He didn't sign with a pro team. He never played official pro ball in the U.S. Everything was legal. Okay, it's
never went through the draft process either.
No, yeah, I mean none of it. So this brings up a point about the European side of things. This is no different, in my opinion, than players playing professional ball in Europe and then coming to play college ball. Plenty of teams, including one coach, Tom Izzo, who had a lot to say. I'm pretty sure has some European players on his team that saying they have eligibility. This is no different. So I think this was just, there's still a lot of unknowns. Tom Izzo's old. He's one of them old head coaches. Even BYU's head coach, I don't remember his name, but he even basically said the same thing. This is no different than Europeans coming over to play college ball. So, good for Louisville. They're going to get an experienced player. You'll probably see more schools start to do this.
Yeah, no, yeah. The only difference, and I'm with you. It's if it's eligible and I've always been on the if the ruling on it is fair and it's fair to everybody across the board and it's there, why would you not utilize it?
Yeah, 100%.
Now, if he had done this and the NCAA came out and was like, whoa, and started investigating into it and looking into it, now we have a different conversation. But it's the fact that it literally happened and they were just like, oh yeah, you can do that.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
The only difference though between the Europeans and this is this kid coming over is 23. The European kids that played pro and coming over, they've been playing pro since they were 14, 15, 16 years old. So it's just the age difference. But even still, to me, what's the difference in this or the damn 7th-year COVID player? I know a lot of people freaking out on Twitter. They're like, well, this is essentially a grown man playing against little. What's the difference in this and the 7th-year, triple red shirt COVID year player that decided he just never wanted to start his insurance job, so he decided to stay in college?
Nothing.
So there's no difference. And again, the European player, there's no difference. They've been playing pro ball against grown men their whole life. So be it. If he went through the right process, went to the G League, whatever it was, right out of high school, which is an option. Never went through the draft process. Never did any of that. So what? If he wants to go back,
guess what?
Screw it.
Go back. Yeah.
Guess what? Unfortunately, there's more money in college than there is in the G League.
Now, absolutely.
So yeah, why not go all for it? But I will say with this, if you're going to allow with the era of NIL and how much money kids are making, and you're going to allow, stuff like this, which I'm okay with, and then the transfer portal. I think we just need to open up the floodgates to, if a kid wants to go to the pros right out of high school, let them.
Yeah, why not?
Because at this point, I think kids are so talented coming out of high school now more than ever. I feel like your people, like take last year, Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag, and I get it. There's always the argument of, well, they learn certain stuff in college that you don't, I get that 100%. There's a lot of things Coop probably learned on his 3 games of doing the same fucking move over and over again and turning the ball over that he probably learned from. But guys like Cooper Flag, look at this year. Darren Peterson at Kansas, AJ Devanza, BYU. There's certain players that we can make the argument they're wasting their time spending a year in college. So I think you should, if they want to go right out of high school, let them, because if the NBA wants them and thinks they're talented enough, they're gonna get drafted regardless.
Yeah, and there needs to be a rule in place if they're going to allow them to do that. If they go through the draft process and there's not interest and teams don't think they're ready, that they're allowed to go back to college if they want without any hesitation.
Well, that's the good thing about basketball is that unlike the NFL, you go through the combine and everything, you're locked.
Yeah,
in
you're
draft.
done. Yeah.
NBA, you can go through the combine and see, kind of where you're at from there, and then you're allowed to come back.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can't sign an agent though, right?
No, you just can't sign an agent.
Right.
But you do have a certain time frame to.
Yeah.
But I think if you're a high school player and you're going, you want to enter that combine.
Yeah, why
and,
not?
You get accepted. Why not go test your waters and see where you're at and try? Again, I get it. Maybe you don't do it because, all right, maybe as a talent, I'm a first-round pick, even as a high school player this year. But spending that 1 year in college, that first-round pick could make me a top 10 pick. Sure. There's more money involved there, but that's the risk you take as well.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a life decision. But
so I think we just need to get to a point where if you want to go out of high school, let them.
Yeah, just give them the option, because there is money in college now, and now they get it's an easier choice. I feel like you can say, okay, I'll test out the draft. If not, okay, I'll go make money in college. Because beforehand, it was the money thing. Like, you go to college, you get hurt, and now I'm screwed. But now that's not a question.
Yeah, you're already making money in college.
Yeah. But I think this brings up another point for NIL and transfer portal in general. If there's just no regulations on any of this stuff, it's like wild, wild west, worse than pro free agency. Greg Olson said this well. I think for it to be restricted a little bit, I think it needs to be treated more like the pros, where if you either get NIL or the transfer portal, you can't have both. I think if you take money from a school or donors, however that works, you should be contracted for a certain amount of years to stay with that school. Just like in pros, like if you have a bad year, you can't just like, oh, okay, well, I'm done. I'm going to go leave and go somewhere else. So I think eventually we'll have to get to that point where it is contracts being signed, saying, hey, look, Louisville offers you $1 million to come play for them, but you got to play for 2 years.
Well, either that or look at, like we just been talking about it with college football coaches. Look at a buyout option. If you're going to.
Or that, yeah, you say, hey, you want to leave? Yeah.
If you want to take, $3 million from me, hey, but you can have the full $3 million if you stay. But if you decide to enter the transfer portal, you owe, let's just say 1.3 million back of that.
Half.
Yeah. You owe that back to me.
Yeah, they're starting to start having regulations like that on college sports, NIL, and the transfer portal. So the NCAA is going to eventually have to crack down. I don't know how they're going to do that or when or what that looks like, but something's got to give, because it's hard for these coaches and universities to continuously deal with all this. And I think it's better for the players too, when they get to the pros, that's what this is.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
I'm pro transfer portal.
For sure.
And now you could put rules and regulations around it, because I don't agree with kids being able to have the ability to transfer every year if they want to.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. But I'm so transfer portal because it just, look at what it's doing for the sport. Basketball, it was kind of, college basketball's never been all right, we already know what team's going to win, the national title, because anything happens in basketball. Anything happened in March. It didn't matter. Football is where it kind of made the most difference because now it spreads your talent out across the country. And you're seeing that with schools like Indiana being really good. BYU is really good. Texas Tech is really good. Like, you're seeing the wealth spread out and it's showing. So that's why I'm for it. I don't like going into every year. I didn't like, as fun and as exciting as some of those, Alabama and Georgia teams and all that they were. It takes kind of a little bit of the fun out of it, just going, well, doesn't matter. Alabama's just going to win the national title at the end of the year. So now we go into it, and yeah, you could sit here and say right now, like Ohio State's, the best team in the country, but I mean, you can make an argument for 5-6 teams right now that could all win a national championship.
Yeah. No, we need to keep it, but let's put some guardrails around it.
Yeah.
And
don't restrict it to where we don't use it, but you got to have something around it. So obviously we talked about that, but let's talk a little bit. We did have 2 exhibition games on Friday
for our teams. Yeah.
Both of our teams, Louisville, Kentucky. Doug, I'll let you start off. How did you look at the Louisville exhibition game?
Well, I think these high-level exhibition games are great for these teams. Yes, it's an exhibition game. You say, okay, it doesn't really matter. This 100% matters to these teams. And you could tell by the way these teams were playing, at least from the Louisville, Kansas perspective, they wanted to win that game, both teams. I think that this provides, at least from Louisville's perspective, a lot of film for takeaways for the next game. We have another exhibition on Tuesday with a shitty school.
I think it's Bucknell. I think you play.
Yeah, I think you're right. But when you play these high level teams, a lot gets exposed, and I think Pat Kelsey saw that, and the film's going to show that. Michael Brown had a, lack of a better term, disappointing debut in the Yum Center. But I think, that atmosphere is huge. And for somebody who's probably not used to that, he felt like he probably had a lot of pressure on his shoulders to try and do well. Felt like he was forcing stuff. He wouldn't let the game come to him. He wasn't letting the game come to him as much, which really was the whole team. We weren't hitting shots, which is not going to happen all the time. But then there was also some positives. Ryan Conwell, played phenomenal. He had scored 26 points. He played really good defense. Ali Khalifa, you saw some bright spots in him with his court vision, being able to pass well. And I really liked the way Kobe Rogers played. He played with a lot of energy and played good defense. He's going to be a very important player for us. He kind of stepped up when Mikel Brown wasn't doing anything. So these exhibition games are very helpful for coaches and teams, and this is only going to make Louisville a better team. We struggled defensively. Obviously, I don't remember his first name, but Peterson from Kansas, he's a freshman. That dude is a real deal. That kid is going to be
Peterson.
Top 5 draft pick. What's his first name?
Darren Peterson.
Yeah. That dude is a real deal. Top 5 draft pick, probably next year. He played with a lot of poise for being a freshman. He can shoot the ball. He's a 3-level scorer and finishes well around the basket. That you're going to run into players like that. Unfortunately for Louisville's case, he was playing against them. But this was probably in Louisville's case the best thing that happened to them all season. And they fought well in the second half. I know they kind of took Peterson out a little bit, but he only scored 6 points in the second half, where he scored 24. But they battled back and only lost by 8 because they were down by quite a bit. So only up from here. We're probably going to beat Bucknell. I would say we beat Bucknell by 20. And then you got Kentucky, so it's like got to get ready quick. Also, Pryor didn't play, probably to save face, so save him a little bit. He probably won't play in the next exhibition game, but that's only getting playing time for some other big guys to come in and get some experience. So if something like last year happens where Pryor goes down again or whoever, next man up, and they'll have some time under their belt on the court. So, but yeah. We'll it's going to be I think Louisville's going to be a really good team. We're going to have a great season, and Michael Brown's going to settle in and he's going to be a superstar. I'm going to keep saying that. So
yep. Well, Kentucky played an exhibition game Friday as well against number 1 Purdue. It was at Rupp Arena. I will say, without arguably 2 of their top 3 best players, because Otego Away did play, who's probably their best player. They played phenomenal. You got to see this team can go 10-11 deep if needed, which is crucial, especially going into March, that you have guys that you can rely on and trust to play. So the two that didn't play, Jalen Lowe obviously did not play. He got a shoulder injury in last week's blue and white game, but everything's good. He will be available for the first game of the year if needed, which I think realistically, what I would do is I wouldn't play him to the Louisville game. But I think what's going to end up happening is he'll sit out first game of the year. We have another game as well. He'll probably play that one in spurts just to kind of get him a little bit of run, and then he'll play obviously fully in the Louisville game. But I'll tell you what, so Kentucky against Purdue had 3 players score double digits. Everybody that played scored. So, and that was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different guys scored against Purdue. Like I said, 3 in double digits. Jasper Johnson, the freshman that we've raved about and everything, got a lot of minutes with Lowe being out. He was the leading scorer with 15. And let me tell you, he reminds me of he's obviously taller, but a more controllable Rob Dillingham. Shifty, but there were just times with Cal, Rob would just start going off and doing what he would do. Part of that's what made him very good, but a lot of it is just kind of out of control, nonsense. And Jasper has a lot of that, but just he's more controlled about it. And that's got me really excited. He hit 3 threes. This team, shooting-wise, I thought Kentucky's shooting was really good last year. This year, they have potential to be even better. They were only 9 of 29 against Purdue, but you could see how many open looks they were creating off of it. I think you've got more guard play this year to create more threes from what you had last year. And like I said, you're still missing Jaden Quainance and Jalen Lowe. So Ortega only had 10 points. He was you can kind of tell he was a little bit on cruise control, a little bit, not trying to do a whole lot. Denzel Aberdeen, the Florida transfer, I was really impressed with both sides, but there were 2 guys that just absolutely, 3 guys actually, sorry, that blew me away in this game that I was absolutely shocked about. One of them, Mo Diabate, the transfer from Alabama. I can't remember the last time Kentucky had a guy that was just willing to go do everything that everybody else isn't. And that is Mo Diabate. He's going to play against your best player on defense. He's going to die for loose balls. He's going to go fight for those rebounds. And in this game he had 8 points. He had 8 points and 9 rebounds with 2 blocks and 2 steals.
Nice. It's good stat.
So, I mean, he's just willing to do everything.
Sorry, real quick, just to add on to that. I think that goes with the Mark Pope effect too.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the kind of coach he is. I'm a big Mark Pope fan. And I think when you have a guy that has a motor like that and a coach that, gets that out of a player, it's a good combo.
Yeah. Colin Chandler, last year when he played, you can kind of tell. Now, granted, Colin Chandler was gone. He didn't play basketball for a year. And then he came back, was originally supposed to go to BYU. He came back from doing his service for a year. Mark Pope gone from BYU. He followed Mark Pope to Kentucky. Last year, you could kind of tell. I feel like now, watching him now, I feel like it took him longer after taking a year off of basketball, essentially. It took him a while to get back into the swing of things, especially joining a new university with a whole lot of expectations. I think it just got to him at times. This year, completely different Colin Chandler. I mean, he's driving down the lane intentionally trying to dunk on somebody now. So, really like that out of him. Another kind of do-it-all guy. He only had 2 points, but he also had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal. But the last one that really shocked me, because I thought it was going to take him time to develop, and especially playing in front of Brandon Garrison and then Jaden Quainance when he's back. Malachi Moreno, the other freshman. Purdue has 2 or 3 7-footers on their team, and I'm pretty sure that the 7-footers they do have are like 7'3". Malachi Moreno went right at them. Had no problem going at them. He had 8 points. He had 4 rebounds and a block. But it was just when he got the ball, the aggressiveness that he was just looking and willing to score. And I think that is going to be huge while JQ is out. Brandon Garrison, we already have a lot of high hopes for from last year. He was good last year. He steps into a bigger role this year. But having that Malachi come off the bench while JQ's out to be able, if he can continue to build off that, that's huge, especially in the beginning portions of the year.
Yeah, 'cause you're playing a lot of good teams in the beginning of the year. So, and then really for Kentucky, the SEC is so deep. I don't know how long how you say his last name?
Jaden
Jaden
Quaintance.
Quaintance. I don't know how long he's out, but when you start getting the SEC play, it's where the league is so deep. Pause. That does matter, and he's going to get a lot of PT. Yeah, I mean, having that rotation is going to be huge for you guys. So
Yeah, the last update I'm seeing from October 6th, so this was at the beginning of this month, is that they still don't have a set date for
what did
his
he do?
return. It tore his ACL last year.
That's right. Okay.
They don't. He did it in March too, so it's kind of
Yeah, and you don't want to rush it, and it doesn't seem like they have to.
no.
I'd rather if I'm Kentucky, I'm rather saving him for the SEC start the SEC play if possible, even midway through because you want him for March really.
Yep. So
Don't rush it.
they said he was. They were hoping he'd be cleared for contact by September. He wasn't. There's hope that he would still return in late November and December still. But they said Pope's last comment that he made on Quaintance was what he's doing in rehab. They were like, workout wise and everything, he's breaking all kinds of records for what Kentucky standard is, I guess, for whatever Mark Pope standard is. And they said time wise, he's going fast, but he said we're still going to proceed with caution. He's going to get the opportunity to make this team great, but also an opportunity for his career. So he is going to, he's going to play the long game with him. And I think that's smart.
Yeah, I
now,
think that's smart.
Obviously, I think that'll start to heat up. If for whatever reason Kentucky starts struggling early, I think it'll heat up just a little bit. Maybe not so much to just rush him out there and play a full 40 minutes, obviously, but to get him out there playing maybe in 5-10 minute spurts, I could see, but we'll see. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just to cap this off, college basketball is an awesome place with Louisville and Kentucky both being good. And this rivalry is going to get back to what it used to be, I think, for college basketball, where every year it's an exciting game. I do think this game this year is going to be a really good one. And I'm excited for the whole state, to be honest, because what would be awesome is we could see another Kentucky Louisville Final Four game. That would be awesome.
And also for this area, I mean, Indiana's looking pretty good.
Yeah, Indiana looks good. I mean, football and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Same for Louisville. I know Kentucky's not doing well football wise, but they'll do something hopefully and get a coach and get back to at least where people want to watch them play. But hopefully. Yeah, I mean the whole this whole area, everything's looking good. So everything's balanced out now. I like it.
So all right, on to the NFL side of things real quickly. Just a couple things, a couple stories. I want to get your opinion, Doug. How do you feel about Lamar practicing Friday and then all of a sudden being scratched out?
I think he was trying to see if he could go, and maybe he just last minute said, I'll practice, but a game is not a practice. So if he felt like he wasn't 100%, and he gave it all for his team, I think Lamar's like, yeah, I'm going to wait another week and wait it out. I mean, at this point, to be honest, I don't know how much of their season is salvageable. I don't know. I don't know if they can even turn it around, to be completely honest.
So let's take a look at their schedule. Because, I mean, I think there's still a path, theoretically.
Maybe, but...
So, obviously, he's not playing today. They play against the Bears. I think without him playing, they lose. So this drops him to 1-6.
Yep.
All right, so if he were to come back, assuming starting next week, which they play on Thursday against the Dolphins, I think if he comes back, I think they win.
They can win that one.
So that puts them at 2-6. Then they're at Minnesota. I think as long as Lamar plays, I think they're good.
Questionable, but yeah, okay.
So 3-6. At Cleveland, again, can be tricky. On the road, divisional opponent. I think they're able to win that game, though. So 4-6. Then you play the Jets at home.
Obviously, that's
5-6. Play the Bengals at home.
Could be a win. Another divisional opponent, though.
6-6. Steelers at home.
I think you could
split with the Steelers, at least split.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 7-6 right now, currently. Then you're at the Bengals. Could go either way, depending on how. I think they could win that game just because I don't know how much more Joe Flacco could truly do.
Yeah.
So we're talking 8-6. At home against the Patriots, they probably lose that one. But at home, it could be tricky as well. I'm going to say right now, based off what we're seeing, it's a loss.
I'm going to say it's a loss.
8-7. At Green Bay, I know it sounds, but it's still Lamar against NFC teams. I just don't know. But we'll go loss. So that's 8-9. 8-9 realistically to finish the year. I mean, yeah, it's probably not playoffs, but I feel like if Lamar just comes back, there's still a chance. Because you obviously have a chance against the Patriots. You have a chance against the Packers as long as Lamar's playing.
Yeah, I mean, he has to be 100% though. That's why I think he should wait as long as possible. He needs to be 100%. Don't rush it, come back, and then now you're hurt again, and now you're screwed. It was worth nothing. So let's wait that out and make sure he's 100%. But I don't know, man. It's almost like, do you wait and let's obviously Lamar's going to come back and play, but it's like, do you maybe try and get a decent draft pick and you go make your team better? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then real quick, something I want to talk about, and this has to do with our Indianapolis Colts, Doug. It's more so a little bit of a rant for me, and I'm sure you'll agree as I go on. But I am so tired of still to this day hearing people shit on the Indianapolis Colts. I here's my thing. After the first 3 to 4 weeks, if you still wanted to say, well, it's Daniel Jones, just wait. Okay, we'll see. We've seen quarterbacks go on heaters before, so it is possible. I get it. We are in week 8. Yeah, week 8. It's time to stop saying, just wait on it. At this point, week 8, Daniel Jones is who Daniel Jones is right now. There's no going back from it. Also, I'm so tired of hearing, well, the Colts haven't played anybody. Okay, true. The schedule and the way it's panned out, the Dolphins were supposed to be at least all right. They've been trash this year. The Broncos were good. The Broncos are still good.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans are trash. The Rams are a good football team, which they outplayed for, realistically, 85%. They outplayed the Rams 85% of that game. If A.D. Mitchell doesn't drop the ball, A.D. Mitchell doesn't hold on JT's touchdown run, and if the corner doesn't slip on Tutu Atwell's 80-yard touchdown, the Colts win that game easily. Raiders, trash. They were supposed to be better. And then the Cardinals gave us a game more so because we found out the night before that Jacoby Brissett's going to be playing after preparing for Kyler Murray all week. And then the score shows closer than what it was. They destroyed the Chargers last week.
Yeah, they did. Who's a good football team.
Here's my thing. And I was talking to one of our old guys we used to play basketball with that stopped us at the game last night, Logan. He stopped and was like, because he was asking me about like Ohio State's schedule and everything. And he was like, how do you feel about not playing a great schedule and everything? And I said, well, look, I've always been of the mindset you play who's in front of you, you beat who's in front of you. They're not good. That's not your fault. But my thing about playing not so great talent is, what are you doing against that not so great talent? If you're doing what you're supposed to do and beating them, then yeah, you've done what you're supposed to do. You've done exactly. Now, if you're playing close games against some of these teams, now I have to question. If you have a bad schedule and you're playing close games against said bad schedule, I got to kind of question it a little bit. But if you're going through and you're playing a bad schedule and you're beating the shit out of this bad schedule, you're doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, taking care of business.
So that's the way I look at the Colts. You look at the Colts, the good teams they've played in the Broncos and Rams, they lost to the Rams by a touchdown. They beat the Broncos by a field goal. Everybody else that's bad, they have beaten the shit out of, minus the Cardinals as the one-off because of the backup.
And
they beat the shit out of the Dolphins 33-8. They beat the shit out of the Titans 41-20. Beat the shit out of the Raiders 40-6. And, and then the Chargers, who are, I would say, at least a decent team, they beat the shit out of.
On top of, most of these games have not been 100% healthy on defense.
No.
So you're not even seeing full potential Colts defense, which when we will eventually get healthy. When that happens, fucking watch out, to be honest. And let's not talk about Jonathan Taylor being arguably the best player in football right now. I mean, he should be, I know he's not, but he should be considered an MVP candidate for what he's doing for our team and what he's doing every single week.
Yeah. And then not only are we, not only is the defense hasn't been healthy, arguably the offense hasn't been fully healthy.
Yeah, not all receivers have been available every game.
Pierce has been out a couple games. Yeah. Josh Downs was out last week. So there's only been 1 or 2 games that this team has been fully healthy for. So I'm just saying, I get it. I understand. Now, if they they have a tough stretch coming up. They play the Titans today. They should take care of business again today with the Titans. Then you go, the second half of the schedule is kind of brutal. I'm not gonna lie. You go to Pittsburgh next week. You're at home against the Falcons. Then you go bye week. Then you're at Kansas City. And then you're at home against Houston, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, at home against 49ers, at home against the Jaguars, and then on the road against the Texans. It gets harder. Now, if the Colts go through this back half of the schedule and don't play well, all right, cool. I'll eat my words on it. But for some of these guys and analysts to get up here and just be like, well, the Colts aren't contenders this year is absolutely insane. Because they're playing better than a lot of your favorite teams. And
we've just been a joke for so long, man. We were so bad for so long that
and Daniel Jones has been a joke of the league, and
yeah,
that
but
nobody still wants to believe.
Let's be honest. Look where he was, and look what's happening there. I mean, I know they got some excitement going over there with Cam Scatterboon.
Well, they did just lose. They did just allow 33 points in one quarter to the Denver Broncos last week.
But again, that is Brian Daboll and the Giants. So look what's happening when he goes to an organization where you have an awesome running back, you have a fantastic offensive line, and you have players around you that want to win. I mean, the organization that wants to win with a head coach who honestly is, I think, one of the better play callers in the sport. So, honestly, I enjoy it. Let everybody keep doubting us, and let's just keep going out, doing what we do every single week, and let's go to a fucking Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm with it. But yeah, that's just my little rant for the week. Like at some point we got to take it for what it is. The Colts have the best record in the NFL. The Colts currently, outside of maybe Kansas City because they're fully healthy now, look like the best team in football.
Yeah, and that game in Kansas City is going to be a doozy. That's going to be a doozy.
So, all right, wrap things up for today. We had a spicy story breakout this week. Gambling in the NBA. So first, we thought it was just Terry Rozier a couple years ago. Now, come to find out that Chauncey Billups was involved. So, where Chauncey was involved in the gambling part, so he's involved on two separate things on it. So, the first part where he was involved, so we all know by now, which there's been video footage for a year at least now since Terry Rozier was first found of this, where Terry Rozier was throwing games, essentially went out there, texted his buddy, said, take my unders because I'm just going to go out there for a couple possessions and then say my foot hurts and come out. So there's that. Chauncey, it says before so when he was hired with the Trailblazers 2021, a game on March 23rd, he told a bunch of his buddies and everything, bet against the Trailblazers. He said, I'm going to sit my best players. And so that totaled for that night, the people that bet against the Blazers, people won over $100,000 from what this CBS report is showing. Also, now where Chauncey Billups has been involved with all this is essentially rigging poker games. There were x-ray machines inside of the poker room. He had specialty glasses that were allowing him to read cards that people had in their hand, contacts allegedly that allowed like contact lenses that allowed him to see and other people to see what cards people had. I mean, this is just a wild story. Not to mention they saying the mafia is involved.
Of course the mafia is involved. Anything to do with gambling and rigged poker games, the mafia is involved. Okay? Now, what I want to know is how the fuck did they get to this point? They're not poor. Like, Terry Rozier is a $26 million contract, who, by the way, is going to still get paid while he's being investigated. I saw a report this morning about that. And Chauncey Billups has been making money for a long time. I mean, these guys aren't broke unless they just spent their money.
Well, not only that, Chauncey Billups made money, hand over fist as a player.
Playing, right.
And not only that, he's coaching right now.
I want to know how they got to this point. I feel like, if you've watched the movies or whatever, I feel like the mafia got some dirt on these guys. They did something and they're like, all right, we will keep it a secret, but you got to do this for us. And now I feel like that's the only way. They're getting blackmailed. And that's what if I was them, I would say that in court when this gets brought up to a jury, which it most likely will. But I would love to see or hear the full story of how they even got to this point. Maybe they just thought it was fun. I mean, they were like, nobody's going to touch us. We're NBA legends, players, whatever. But they were doing this to celebrities, from what I've heard in these poker rooms. Chauncey Billups was.
Not only that, celebrities, your own colleagues, your friends that you invited over, like you're fucking everybody that you're close to.
Maybe they just thought it was fun. They got an adrenaline rush out of it. I don't know. That's the story I want to hear.
This is my whole point about all this. Like you make millions of dollars as a player, and in Chauncey's case, a coach as well. Like why take this risk? Why I get it, there's never enough money. I understand that. But at some point, why are you willing to risk this? What are you doing? Like Terry Rozier, bet on my unders. You know what you're saying? You're saying bet on me to suck tonight. So where's your competitive nature? Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you get to that point. Because even if you say, oh, it's all in good fun. How is it in good fun to fuck your buddies over?
In my honest opinion, I think in 5 years, we're going to see this. Once the case is over, I think we're going to see this be made into a movie.
Oh, it's going to be a 30 for 30.
Well, I think an actual hey, I'm going to make it a blockbuster. Think about the storyline there. I mean, Netflix could just buy the rights and fucking make a movie. Somebody's going to want to do that.
It's nuts.
I want to really know how they get to that point. That's the real story here. I know what they're doing is wrong, and that's the story right now. But the story is really what happened
allegedly.
Before
Also,
this.
We're gonna get more from this, and we'll talk about it more.
There's a lot of players in this,
but apparently Chauncey released 35 names.
Well, damn, he just fucking squealed.
Yeah. So allegedly, now that's what I saw the report of, that it said that he let go of 35, and what it said was on the report was 35 high-profiled NFL and NBA names.
Well, and I mean, if the mafia's involved, I don't know if he'll snitch on those guys, but that's asking for a lot of trouble there. Yeah, I don't know, man. That is gonna be interesting.
Yeah. And everybody's been making the little funny jokes on the side. They're like, Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier were coached by Rick Pitino. You can't tell me he's not involved in this somehow.
Mafia?
I doubt it, but it is.
No,
funny.
he's not. Now, this also kind of, we also forget to talk about the ref who got suspended indefinitely, Scott
Foster.
Scott Foster, right? Yeah, that was basically trying to manipulate games, or was. So that this also all came out at the same time.
Sorry, not Scott Foster.
I thought it was
Scott Foster is the ref that hates Chris Paul. Sorry, I knew that name. Tim Donaghy.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Scott Foster is the ref that hates Chris Paul. Scott Foster is also the one that everybody, when he's calling an NBA game, we absolutely hate. But Tim Donaghy is the one that got conspired to fix NBA games. So
it also seems the FBI wants Adam Silver and the NBA to, I think they have to meet with them.
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to launch their own investigation as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna go deep. There's no telling how far up it goes and how long this has been going on, and if it still is going on, and how much is going on. I don't see the FBI stopping anytime soon. And now Stephen A. Smith went on this whole fucking thing about Trump going after all these people, and it's some revenge ploy and whatever. That's dumb. Okay, Stephen A. is just, I think he's trying to run for some office of some sort. He's trying to get his name out there in politics. But buddy, just stick to the actual sports reporting.
Did you see what the FBI director, his response to that was? Yeah, what his response to that was?
Yeah.
And he was like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard, and I lived in D.C. for 8 years.
Yeah. So I'm not saying Trump couldn't go on some revenge ploy if he wanted to.
But when this all started, with Terry and everything, when this all started, this was under, when they started launching all this, I heard him say, he's like, this was under Biden's administration.
Yeah. What?
So when they started seriously looking into this, but it also now makes you think is how much of this is going on everywhere else, just maybe not as obvious.
Yeah. And Stephen A. needs to get his main character syndrome under fucking control, because that's just stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be interesting. See what comes out of this. Again, there'll be more, obviously, that comes out. And as it does, we'll we'll try to get everybody information. But yeah, it's just, this is insane. And again, it just makes you think of how much of this actually goes on, not just maybe in the NBA, but just across sports in general.
Sure. Absolutely.
So,
yep.
But I did think it was funny that while they were announcing this on ESPN, when they were talking about it, in the bottom corner, right below their little ticker, they had the bet ESPN, and as they were talking about it, it just disappeared. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's also a big problem, is that we promote this stuff so much.
Big time.
And, when you make it available to everybody.
There's a lot of money in gambling, especially sports gambling now.
Yeah.
So it's bound to get corrupted, right? like everything else.
Very much. Yep. So I think that's gonna do it today.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody, and or watching if you're on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.